Greetings! Mantaray79 here, and welcome back to another deck profile video for the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game. And now in today's video, the deck profile I'm gonna be making one for is a V standard formats. Kagero's Dragon Monk Goku with By Attack Dragon. Alrighty, let's begin. And now, first up, the Grade 0 lineup. For the Grade 0s in this deck, we are playing 1. Grade 0, Lizard Soldier Conroe. The Grade 0, Lizard Soldier Conroe, starting unit. Skill, auto. When rolled upon, draw a card. Then, if your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 1 or greater, put a Quick Shield ticket into your hand. So for Lizard Soldier Conroe, he's the starting unit of this deck. Like any other starting unit in the V standard format, it features the same skill and activation. When written on top of, you get to draw a card. Then, if you're the second to rise to Grade 1, you can add a Quick Shield to your hand, which can serve as a potential 5,000 point shield. And with that, we've just about covered the deck's Grade 0 lineup. Next, let's get on with the deck's Grade 1 lineup. And now, for the Grade 1 lineup. For the Grade 1s in this deck, we are playing 4. Grade 1, Lava Flow Dragon. 4. Grade 1, Dragon Knight Hishot. And 4. Grade 1, Flame of Hope Ermo. The Grade 1, Lava Flow Dragon. Skills, first skill, continuous as a Vanguard or Rearguard. During your turn, if you have more Rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. Second skill, auto as a Vanguard or Rearguard. When placed from hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to a 1 Grade 3 card from among them, put him into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you put a card into your hand, discard a card from your hand. So for Lava Flow Dragon, a pretty good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks. If its skill is the first skill, as long as the conditions of the first skill are met, your Lava Flow Dragon then can serve as a potential 13,000 point attacker for your front row or a 13,000 point booster for your back row. And the second skill, when written or called, you have the chance to look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a Grade 3 to either to ride with or to secure for your later game strategy. The Grade 1, Dragon Knight Hishot. Skills, first skill, auto as a Rearguard. When placed, cost, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's back row Rearguards and retire it. Second skill, auto. When rolled upon, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Grade 3 or greater card from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. So for Hishot, another good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with skills. The first skill, when called, by paying the cost, you can then not only draw more cards, but you can also wipe out a Rearguard on your opponent's back row, giving you a better advantage. Any second skill, when your Vanguard Dragon and Hishot is written on top of, you have the opportunity to look at the top 5 cards of your deck to search for a Grade 3 to either to ride with or to secure for your later game strategy. The Grade 1, Flame of Hope Ermo. Skills, first skill, continuous as a Rearguard. During the battle that it boosted, this unit gets plus 3,000 power. Second skill, auto as a Rearguard. When your opponent's Rearguard is retired during your turn, cost, retire this unit. If the cost is paid, draw a card and countercharge 1. So for Ermo, another good Grade 1 to play in your Kagero decks with its skills. The first skill, when boosting, your Ermo then can serve as a potential 11,000 point booster for your back row. Any second skill, when the conditions of the second skill are met and you pay the cost, you can not only draw more cards to restock your hand with, but you can also refund your counterblast for later skills. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 1 lineup. Next, let's get on to the Grade 2 lineup. And now, for the Grade 2 lineup. For the Grade 2s in this deck, we are playing 4. Grade 2, Burning Horn Dragon. 3. Grade 2, Bi Attack Dragon. 3. Grade 2, Torque Cannon Dragon. And 2. Grade 2, Dragon Dancer Fremma. The Grade 2, Burning Horn Dragon. Skills, first skill, continuous from the hand. When you would discard this card, you may discard it as a Grade 3. Second skill, auto. When this card is discarded during your turn, if your Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, cost Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So for Burning Horn Dragon, a pretty good Grade 2 to play in your Kagero decks of its skill. The first skill, whenever you would discard Burning Horn Dragon from your hand, if it may be treated as a Grade 3 card. So any skills or card effects that require you to discard a Grade 3 from hand, Burning Horn Dragon then can substitute for such skills. Second skill, when this unit is discarded from your hand during your turn, if your Vanguard is a Grade 3 or greater, cost Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, you may then choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it, giving you a better advantage to make use of. The Grade 2, Bi Attack Dragon. Skills, first skill, auto. As a Vanguard or rear guard, once per turn, when this unit attacks a Vanguard while boosted, cost Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, choose a column and retire all of your opponent's rear guards in that column. Second skill, auto from the hand. At the beginning of your ride phase, if your Vanguard is Grade 1 or less, cost, discard this card. If the cost is paid, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one Grade 2 or less card from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So for Bi Attack Dragon, another good Grade 2 to play in your Kagero decks. With skills, the first skill, when attacking while the conditions of the first skill are met and you pay the cost, you can then retire one of your opponent's columns with their rear guards on them, thus giving you a better advantage by retiring more rear guards. And the second skill, at the beginning of your ride phase while your Vanguard is Grade 1 or less, by paying the cost, you have the chance to check the top 5 cards of your deck to search for a Grade 2 or less card to aid in your later game strategy. The Grade 2, Torque Cannon Dragon. Skill, action as a Vanguard or rear guard, once per turn. Cost, Counter Blast 1 and put a normal unit from your drop zone into the bottom of your deck. If the cost is paid, choose one of your opponent's Grade 2 or less rear guards and retire it. If your hand has 4 or less cards, draw a card. So for Torque Cannon, another good Grade 2 to play in your Kagero decks of its skill. When the cost is paid, not only do you get to retire one of your opponent's rear guards, giving you a better advantage, but also, as long as the secondary condition of this skill is met, you can draw more cards to restock your hand with. And next, the Grade 2, Dragon Dancer Fremma. Skills, first skill, continuous as a rear guard. If your opponent has 1 or less rear guards, this unit gets boost. Second skill, auto as a rear guard. When placed during your turn, if you have 2 or more Grade 3 or greater units, cost Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, retire all of your opponent's rear guards in the same columns as unit. If 1 or less rear guards were retired, draw a card. So for Fremma, another good Grade 2 to play in your Kagero decks. With skills, the first skill, as long as the conditions of the first skill are met, Fremma then can serve as a potential 10,000 point booster for the back row. And the second skill, when called during your turn, as long as the conditions of the second skill are met and you pay the cost, not only do you get to retire 1 column's worth of rear guards, but as long as you meet the other condition of this skill, you can instead draw more cards as well to restock your hand with. And with that, we just about covered the deck's Grade 2 lineup. Next, let's get on to the deck's Grade 3 lineup. And now, for the Grade 3 lineup. For the Grade 3s in this deck, we are playing 4. Grade 3, Dragon Monk Goku. 3. Grade 3, Blazing Flare Dragon. And 2. Grade 3, Fire Rage Dragon. The Grade 3, Dragon Monk Goku. Skills, first skill, action as a Vanguard once per turn. Cost, Counter Blast 1 and discard a Grade 3 card from your hand. If the cost is paid, this unit gets Drive +1 until end of turn. Second skill, auto as a Vanguard. At the end of the battle this unit attacked. Cost, Counter Blast 1. If the cost is paid, perform all of the following according to the grades of all the normal units revealed in the battle's drive check. Grade 3, choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them. Grade 2, choose one of your rear guards and stand it. Grade 1, choose one of your own rear guards and it gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. So for Goku, it's one of the main grade 3s to ride in this deck. Its skill is the first skill. By paying the cost, you can then give drive +1 to your Vanguard, giving you a better chance to either get triggers or to simply restock your hand with the additional drive checks. And the second skill, after attacking, by paying the cost, you can activate one or perhaps all of the effects depending on what normal units you drive check during your battle's drive check. If you reveal a grade 3, you can retire 2 of your opponent's rear guards. If you reveal a grade 2, you can restand one of your own rear guards. And if you got a grade 1, you can then give your rear guards plus 10,000 power. So for Goku, it's a good way to not only wipe out your opponent's field of rear guards, but you can also restand a rear guard to help you pressure your opponent with. And also you can give 10,000 power to a rear guard in your field, giving you another powerful attacker to either the pressure or finish your opponent with. The grade 3, Blazing Flare Dragon. Skills, first skill, actions, the Vanguard or rear guard, once per turn. Cost, Soul Blast 1 or more cards. If the cost is paid, for each Soul Blast paid for this cost, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. If it is on the Vanguard circle, if you paid Soul Blast 5 or more for this cost, your opponent removes all of the markers from their circles and protect from their hands. Second skill, auto, as a Vanguard or rear guard. When this unit attacks, Soul Charge 1. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and if they have no rear guards, this unit gets plus 10,000 power until end of battle. So for Blazing Flare Dragon, it's one of the other main grade 3s to play in this deck. Its skill is the first skill. You can then, for the first skill, Soul Blast as many cards as you want. For each Soul Blast paid, you can retire the same number of rear guards. And if this cost was paid while you have Blazing Flare in the Vanguard, and you Soul Blasted 5 or more cards, you can also activate an additional ability to not only wipe out all of the markers in your opponent's field, but you can also take away all protects from their hand, thus giving you a better advantage by wiping out their offense and defense with this first skill. And the second skill of Blazing Flare, when attacking, not only do you get to Soul Charge and build up your soul for later Soul Blast, but as long as the conditions of the second skill are met, you can also give plus 10,000 power to Blazing Flare Dragon, giving you a potential 23,000 more attacker for your front row. The Grade 3, Fire Rage Dragon. Skill, auto as a Vanguard or rear guard. When placed, cost, Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If the cost is paid, put the top card of your deck into the drop zone, choose the same number of your opponent's rear guards in the same grade as that card, retire them, and if you did not retire any units, this unit gets plus 1 critical until end of turn. So for Fire Rage Dragon, another one of the main grade 3s to play in this deck, its skill, when ridden or called, by paying the cost, and by dropping the top card of your deck, you can then retire a number of rear guards in your opponent's field according to the grade of the dropped card. And if you did not retire any rear guards, you can instead give Fire Rage Dragon plus 1 critical, making Fire Rage a good way to not only clear our opponent's field of rear guards, but to also pressure or finish off your opponent with the additional critical. And with that, we just about covered the deck's grade 3 lineup. Next, let's get on to the trigger lineup. And now, for the trigger lineup. For the triggers of this deck, we are playing 4. Grade 0, Angry Horn Dragon, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Embodiment of Spear, Tar, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Dragon Knight Janat, critical trigger. 2. Grade 0, Wyvern Guard Bari, draw trigger. 2. Grade 0, Toxify Light Dragon, draw trigger. And 4. Grade 3, Dragon Dancer Nastasha, heal trigger. The Grade 0, Dragon Knight Janat, critical trigger, Sentinel. Skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards of Continuous Sentinel in the deck. So for Dragon Knight Janat, he's one of the Sentinels for the Kagero clan's V standard format. Like any other Sentinel, he's a powerful defensive card. For Janat's case, he alone can serve as a potential 30,000 point shield on his own. The Grade 0, Wyvern Guard Bari, draw trigger, Sentinel, perfect guard. Skills, first skill, Continuous Sentinel. You may only have up to 4 cards of Continuous Sentinel in a deck. Second skill, Auto. As a Guardian, when placed, cost, discard a card from your hand. If the cost is paid, one of your units cannot be hit until end of battle. So for Buri, he's a perfect guard for the Kagero clan's V standard format. Like any other perfect guard in the Cardfight Vanguard trading card game, it features the same skill and activation. When used to guard with and discarding one card from your hand, you can block one enemy attack. The Grade 3 Dragon Dancer Nastasha Heal Trigger, Heal Guardian. Skills, first skill, Auto. When this unit is put on the Guardian circle from hand, if you did not ride a Grade 3 or greater unit during this fight, perform one of the following. First effect, choose one of your vanguards and it gets plus 10,000 power until end of turn. Second effect, choose one of your opponents and it gets -2 critical until end of battle. Second skill, Auto. When this unit is placed on the rear guard from hand, if your damage zone has no cards, put the top card of your deck into the damage zone. So for Nastasha, it's one of the heal guardians for the Kagero clan. And for skills, the first skill, when you would guard with Nastasha before riding to Grade 3, you can activate one of 2 powerful defensive effects. For the first effect, your Vanguard gets plus 10,000 power for the end of the turn until end of turn. So for this first effect, it's a good way to stop your opponent from rushing you too early by attacking you with a large number of attacks during the early phase of the fight. And the second effect, just like the first effect, it's a defensive skill. It can reduce your opponent's attacking unit by 2 criticals, thus making it easier to hold back any heavy damage early in the game from opponents who manage to hit you with high critical attacks early. And the second skill, its skill is used when you call it from hand to rear guard. From hand to rear guard, then if you have no cards in the damage zone, you can place the top card of the deck face up on the damage zone. This way, it's a good counter to use against the opponents who play the damage denial strategy. The damage denial strategy is when your opponents prevent you from using your skills by not making you have any counterblast ready by not attacking you, giving you no cards in the damage zone. With Nastasha's skill, you can then more or less work around the annoyance of the damage denial strategy, giving you at least 1 counterblast to work with. And of that, we just about covered the deck's trigger lineup. For the triggers of this deck, we are playing 8 critical triggers, 4 draw triggers, and 4 heal triggers. And now, after having just explained the deck's build and card effects, next, let's get on to explain the deck's main playstyle. So for the main playstyle of this deck, first you just ride normally from your right line from Grade 0, 1, 2, and 3. For your Grade 3 Vanguard, ride Dragon Monk Gojo. Then for your rear guards, try to have powerful front row attackers like perhaps Blazing Flare Dragon and or Fire Rage Dragon. In your back row, try to call some rear guards that you retire rear guards like maybe Turret Cannon Dragon, or Dragon Dancer Frema, and maybe any other cards you wish to take advantage of later. And then in your main phase, you can try to activate Dragon Monk Goku's first skill, discard a Grade 3 from your hand and counterblast 1 to give drive +1 to your Vanguard. For this first skill, either you discard a Grade 3 or perhaps even a Burning Horn Dragon. For Burning Horn's first skill, it lets him be treated as a Grade 3 when discarded. When he costs him paid, give your Vanguard drive +1. And also you can have the chance to activate the second skill of Burning Horn Dragon, which is when discarded by Soul Blasting 1, you can retire an opponent's rear guard. Then for the rest of the main phase, maybe you can take advantage again of perhaps Blazing Flare Dragon to Soul Blast to retire opponent's rear guards and to make use of for your upcoming strategy. And then when you would call Fire Rage Dragon, you can choose to either use its skill to retire rear guards, or maybe if you make use of your retiring skills early when you call Fire Rage Dragon, instead of retiring rear guards, you can instead give Fire Rage +1 critical of its skill. Then when it's time to go to the battle phase, try to attack one of your rear guards first, perhaps Fire Rage Dragon and or Blazing Flare Dragon. Then for your second attack with your Vanguard. And then after attacking your Vanguard, activate Goku's second skill, which is to activate a number of effects according to the normal units you drive check. If you drive check a Grade 3, you can retire 2 more of your opponent's rear guards. If you drive check a Grade 2, you can instead restand one of your rear guards for another attack. If you drive check a Grade 1, you can give an additional 10,000 power to a remaining rear guard in your field, giving you a number of potential combinations to make use of, like retiring rear guards, restanding, attacking multiple times with more attacks, and also to empower your remaining attackers. Then you can then attack again with either Blazing Flare Dragon, using its second skill to let you soul charge and to give it plus 10,000 power as long as the conditions of the second skill are met, and attack again with maybe Fire Rage Dragon, whose +1 critical can help you pressure finish off your opponent with. And again, the main playstyle, just ride until grade 3, Dragon Monk Goku, try to secure a Blazing Flare Dragon and or Fire Rage Dragon, make use of your retiring skills to clear your opponent's field. Then when you call Fire Rage Dragon, maybe you can even make use of its secondary effect to +1 critical, giving you a more powerful front row attacker to make use of. Attack your rear guard first, attack your vanguard, use Goku's skill to potentially restand your rear guards and to also wipe out their field of rear guards and to give plus 10,000 power to a rear guard, giving you either a better chance of surviving the next turn or to have a better chance of finishing in this turn by giving you more attacks and more power to work with. And then attack again with Fire Rage and or Blazing Flare, making use of their skills to give you more power and critical and other potential advantages to finish the game with your victory. And of that, we just about covered the deck's main playstyle. And of that, that's just about all the time we have for today. First I want to say is thank you to the viewers watching today's video, and to please stay tuned for more videos I plan to upload again in the near future. And I also hope you all show support by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to my videos and channel. And of that I say goodbye and